Welcome to the Cincy PostCast presented by Lasik Plus, where better vision leads to better calls. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I want to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery, your favorite Cincinnati brewery. These guys are incredible. We love Streetside. They are making some amazing beers over on the east side of Cincinnati. Find them at 4003 Eastern Avenue. They've got all the styles of beers you could possibly want. I mean that. They are the masters of all. They've got a great spot over there in Columbia, Tusculum. It's really, really cool. And hey, when you're listening to this, potentially on Monday morning, go check them out for St. Patrick's Day, okay? They've got specials from 7 to 9 a.m. They've got green beers. They've got Jameson shots, Irish coffees, Guinness. Come on. It's St. Patrick's Day. You know exactly what you're getting into, okay? If you don't happen to listen to this in time to get into Streetside for St. Patrick's Day, go check out Pint Night. They're doing that one on the 18th. They do special edition glassware that gets you $1 off of your refills. Go check them out. Really, really cool stuff. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode and so many other episodes of the podcast. And on today's episode, well, look, it's never a favorite moment when we have to talk about a loss. But I think we do a good job of processing what happened as well as looking to the future. What do we need to see from this team now that after this week, the schedule congestion no longer an issue? What's going on with the offense? What needs to be fixed, tweaked, adjusted? We try to come out with the answers there. We also identify a moment where maybe a center referee could have had some LASIK surgery, could have made a better call. Maybe Flores is available this coming weekend. Makes you think. In part 2, Patreon questions. We talk about FC Cincinnati's goal differential so far this season. We look into songs in the Bailey. A lot of people wanted to revisit that topic. Some good conversation, some good old-fashioned Cincy postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I'm joined by two gentlemen that, to my knowledge, have not had LASIK eye surgery. Joined by the Chief, joined by Grayson. Chief, we did it. We tricked somebody else into giving us some money.
I remained completely shocked at how this works. I remain eternally grateful that other people also don't know how this works.
I think tricking people into giving you money is basically the only growth American industry.
It's a hard sell economy, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, the story of success in these United States involves people conning other people into buying into their dumb idea.
Yes,
and occasionally your dumb idea happens to work out, and the investment pays off for someone.
Yeah, like I know a guy who is like a quote unquote serial entrepreneur. And he's never had a company that sells a product in his life. He has come up with like startup ideas, raised money, participated in like the ramping up, and then just like folded repeatedly. And
so good.
Now his job is coaching people on basically how to do that. Like,
so good.
Like his one, and I don't even mean this to like belittle it, right? Like I when I said that convincing people to give you money or tricking people into giving you money less charitably is the only growth American industry, I meant it. It's never been a better time for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's never been a better time to fundraise or scam.
Right.
You look at the market, and it's like, you could put your money in stocks. Good luck with that, unless you love the color red. Or you could invest in the true growth in this new economy, and that's podcasting and people talking about soccer, the fastest growing sport of the youth.
Let's go, baby.
What demographic is harder to reach than the youth? We're there.
Yes.
Or at least we will tell you we are there if it induces you to sign some sort of a document.
There is a dollar value at which I would not only learn how to play one of the soccer video games, I will do it on a stream. I do need that money up front, though.
Right, to be clear.
I'm not banking on enough super chats coming through.
Listening to Grayson say, I want to thank Messi Lover 6749 for the sponsorship, for the follow. Thank you very much, Messi Lover 6749.
Thanks for the subs. Yes, I do agree. Messi is better than Ronaldo. That's just, I have to constantly say
Chat,
that.
what are we thinking for formation in this upcoming game?
What do you think that the market would be for like a Matt Miazga NPC type character? People like keep pushing the pizza button,
just a rabble rouser character in FIFA. Yes, like that guy needs to be there, like captain mode on FIFA.
No, you know what I'm talking about? The people who like pretend to be like like AI or something.
Yes, and they respond to like the paid emojis with their like catchphrases or canned phrases.
It's like canned phrases. Yeah.
I do want to emphasize Grayson's point here because it can't be repeated enough. There is a dollar value where the three of us will do just about any type of content or anything. Like, it's funny how all three of us share this secret, unspoken desire to really just quit our real jobs and do this full time. But like, the level of con has to grow significantly from where it is right now. So if you have ideas for how we can, monetize the snake oil even further, we're always open to listening.
It is so funny that I do think that is the case. And I also think that all three of us have been too successful in our careers to where like we probably will never get to that point. Like,
oh, you're grossly overestimating how mediocre I am at my real job.
10 years ago, the threshold was way lower.
Yeah. Stupid CST doing this first before we had the idea.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta be making like
dozens of dollars.
$1 per listener, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. So smash that like and subscribe button. That's what we're saying right here.
Yeah, no, on a serious note, my God, LASIK, it's hilarious that like a national company has decided to cast their lot with us. But then also, like, as you'll hear a little bit later on, this is a match made in heaven, baby. I'm so excited about this. The vibes could not be more equally matched with us and LASIK. Very, very excited about this. Just in time for the team to suck. It feels good to be back.
Yeah, I was about to say, way to buy in on a high there. Congratulations on that. Gold Star hops on right before one of the most disappointing end runs to the season ever last year. And in comes the new sponsor, and oh boy, is the team. You know what, though? The team is hard to watch, but LASIK surgery, at least it would be clear what you're watching.
I love this.
Is that an argument against getting the LASIK? It's hard to watch.
Keep your eyesight a little blurry.
Right. Well, at the very least, like if you want to watch something else while the game is going on, it will be easier to see your phone if you're nearsighted. It's all gonna work out well for you if get the eyesight fixed. You'll have a better experience at the game.
I think a really strong argument for LASIK is the better you are but the better your vision is and the clearer the game is to you, the easier it is to just watch it on mute or turn off the Apple announcers.
Ooh, I like that. And also, you think about this too. We talked about in the last episode about, have takes responsibly. It's very irresponsible to have a take with poor vision. But if you're seeing clearly, and in fact, you're seeing more clearly than other people, you can use that to your advantage when formulating a take. You can say to your fellow seatmate or your fellow FCC person on Facebook or Reddit or in the Discord, look, I got the LASIK surgery. I'm seeing things clearly for the first time in my life. I can see the problem with this team right now. Maybe you need to get your eyes checked and go see the fine folks at LASIK before you have a take that's contrary to mine.
Preach.
I like that whole line of like, I'm seeing things clearly for the first time in my life. It's like it's almost like you like go to LASIK, you come home and you like sit your family in a room and you're like, I'm seeing things clearly for the first time in my life.
I need to move on. I can't be seen in a family with a bunch of ugly people like you.
Like you open your eyes, it's like, oh my God, what is wrong?
And Chief, it does remind me of sitting up in like the red seats out in right field or something really far away at a baseball game and people complaining about balls and strike calls. It's like, hell yeah, never give up.
Yeah. No, I've got the good view up here. I can tell what's going on. But with LASIK, maybe that's the case.
That's true. See, there you go. Ask for the binocular option on that. Do we have to talk about this game? Is this something that we have to talk about?
We don't have to do anything. I just watched the movie The Gorge on Apple TV Plus. We can talk about that.
Was it good?
It was okay.
Okay.
We can talk about the fact that the Xavier Musketeers are dancing.
Kinda.
It's so funny.
Dancing-ish.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Look, baby, I got one more game to go to. That's all that matters.
Where were they? If they make the tournament, where do they play?
Milwaukee, and we're just getting in the car and we're driving straight to Milwaukee too.
Milwaukee's a decent town, actually.
No, Milwaukee's a great town. Milwaukee is like low key one of my favorite places to visit that's within driving distance. Incredible neighborhood type city, great local watering holes, incredible beer. You can get Spotted Cow up there. And just vibes are just good in Milwaukee. It's everything that most people like about Chicago, but distilled down to a easier to deal with experience.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's one of those cities too that like has a deep soccer history, but has not had a professional team in our modern era. Like weirdly, Madison has like the plucky, fun lower division team, not Milwaukee. I don't know. Felt like a team that should have had a team, many years ago.
Yeah, Milwaukee has always felt like a city that I was surprised that during that era of the USL where they had us, they had Indy, they had Louisville, Milwaukee felt like a very, very natural spot for a top tier USL club. And in fact, if the USL is going to do this D1 thing, Milwaukee would be one of the top cities I'd be looking at to try and get something going.
That's even funnier, Chief, when you hear this fact. Peter Wilt from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Prolific club starter. Started the Chicago Red Stars, Indy 11, Madison, the aforementioned forward Madison. Had a soccer league there for a hot second. So very weird that he never decided to put a team in his own home city. Was he also? He might have also been like the first president of the Chicago Fire. So
I think that's right.
Yeah,
they have a statue of the Fonz there.
Oh.
Right on their Riverwalk.
Nice.
What else can we do on Cincinnati Milwaukee talk?
I mean, two great brewing histories of these two cities. I always felt a sort of kindred spirit with Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I'm running out.
No, I've been trying to convince my friend group to do a Reds Brewers like weekend there for a while, just because
could be fun.
It's a cool spot. Also, Alpine Valley Music Theater, one of the more famous of the old outdoor amphitheaters, less than about an hour away from Milwaukee as well. Great place to see a concert. Been there many times.
There you go.
It's one of those arguments for a city that, like, in a in a proper country, it would be the type of place that you could hop on a train to, because it's like a little, it's about like 8 hours. I think it's
if that
less than that. Then
I feel like
it's like
6.
What's it like 5? It's 5 to Chicago, 5.5 to Chicago, and like another hour to Milwaukee. So like 6.5.
Like
but like it's in that distance where you're probably not going to pay to fly. But if you could hop on a train and be there in like 3 hours, that would be a trip I think people would be excited to make, and would be something that people would be excited to do.
Or rapid bus line. Have we thought about a rapid bus line up to Milwaukee?
You guys ever been to northern Wisconsin? Like around the UP?
No, up like near where Green Bay is, in that area.
I was gonna say, this is where I regret not having Damon on, who spent most of his life, a huge chunk of his life, in Appleton, Wisconsin, just a little further south from Green Bay.
I did a road trip once because we went to Isle Royale National Park off of the Upper Peninsula, and then came back down through Wisconsin. And going to like the UP and then going to like northern Wisconsin in particular is a nice reminder that like everywhere has a south. And sometimes it's in the north.
And also there's a great there's a couple of these out there. There's a awesome alternate history of the United States map that I love, that is all of the independent state secessionist movements, if they all came true, like what the United States would look like, in the Upper Peninsula as its own state of the state name Superior. It's a pretty sick state name, so I always appreciated that.
Yeah, but there is nothing superior about the UP. Let's be real here.
I bet the ice fishing is pretty nice.
It's pretty, and you can get pasties.
It's true.
Aren't those just like Hot Pockets with better branding?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hot Pockets are delicious. Like I would not say no to an area where their culture is entirely based around homemade Hot Pockets. That sounds phenomenal.
All right.
So this game,
let's talk about this game.
I mean, it would be, we could pull one of those episodes where we just don't talk about the game, but I feel like that would be a really, really bad look in the first episode where we have a new sponsor about FC Cincinnati content.
Unless we just release 2 hours talking about how great LASIK is.
You can do that
also,
too.
You can't, it's too
early in the season.
It's too early. Yeah. It's got to be like, it would have to be like more random. Honestly, I'm not even sure if the bit works a second time.
Yeah.
But, I picked a 2-0 loss, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
Wait a second.
I said that this
little revisionist history here.
Did I not pick a 2-0 loss?
He definitely picked a 2-0 loss. I wasn't sure about how good you felt about yourself.
I picked the Tigres game wrong. That's what I did. I picked their 3 correctly though, so I was half right.
Would you have?
Honestly, I was like 2/3 right. I had the game 3-3. I'm pretty sure the Tigres game.
Damn,
I was 2/3 right.
Damn.
Print that on the shirt. 2/3 right.
Hey man, just add it to the list of all the accolades we've won. We got called ambitious by Tom Bogert 2 years in a row.
Boom.
Set multiple transfer records in the off season. Put it in the trophy case.
Yeah. Actually, they should legitimately make a trophy for largest crowd and largest transfer fee, so that you can literally win that trophy every so often. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Be like the banker's shield or something like that.
No, speaking of predictions, and maybe this will help set the stage. Chief, in the great year of 2024, you and I and Jonah sat down and predicted every match of the 2025 season based on vibes alone. And to be clear, at that time, Evander was not on FC Cincinnati. Lucho very much was on FC Cincinnati. We had never heard of Lucas Angle. All of these fun things. We predicted a 2-0 loss to Charlotte that would put us on 7 points on the season. The only difference is we have one draw on here versus the 2 losses, 2 wins as we have in reality. We kind of saw this coming. How mad should we be now that we saw it?
Did you see the team getting its ass kicked 3 out of 4 games in a stretch?
So we did have a 3-0 win in there.
Yeah. No,
And that was
appreciate.
to Toronto?
That was to Toronto. Yes, the last game.
So I appreciate that we know ball. That, I appreciate having that confirmed that we already know. I mean, if we're gonna be selling sponsorships, we better be able to prove our ball knowledge to said sponsors. There's a difference between like what you're saying on paper and what we're predicting. I think the through line of the conversation about this game and where this team is at currently is that no matter how you predicted the start of this season to go, I don't know that anyone was fully predicting how utterly offensively inept this team would look after all of the money that was spent, all of the money that was invested, for this team to look so clueless and so toothless in the majority of the games it has played so far this season.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if this team was scoring 2 to 3 goals a match, but was leaky on the back end because Miazga is still out. And, you've got, a U22 that's starting at center back. Like,
and
that would
Miles
be one thing.
Pulling himself out of the game and kind of laughing it off on the sidelines.
Yeah, like smiling it off a little bit as he was walking. I would excuse that, but because, the money wasn't spent there. But they spent so much money this offseason on players, one of whom, look, you can say with Denke, hey, this is a player who traditionally you need a year to adjust to the league. You brought in Evander. Evander is an MLS veteran. He was supposed to be plug and play. And it just hasn't looked good. Oh, and Chief, not only is it not look,
I want to just compound your point, because I think when a lot of people hear we spent a lot of money on the offense, that it ends after 2 names, Denke and Evander. We paid the transfer fee and new contract for Luca Orishano this offseason as well. So include that in the math, everyone.
Yeah, plus 30 million plus, and to not generate chances, to spend long stretches of matches not being goal dangerous, and for the majority of the offense to be coming from hero ball, outside of the box shots, with very little in the sense of what's the plan here?
Yeah.
I don't think that was in everybody's calculus. And I think that, in seeing another match like this where the team had basically one legit scoring opportunity, and that came off a free kick that hit the post from outside the 18-yard box.
It was a good free kick, though.
It was a great free kick. Don't get me wrong.
Lucha can't do that.
No, but that's to have an entire offensive array of offensive players, all of whom were healthy, all of whom were starting, and that's the best chance you get. It's just, there's no other word for it other than disappointing. And I don't think people thought, or at least I didn't think that was going to be the problem with this team. And what I'm left with now is looking at this in the big picture and looking at this in the aggregate. We have a team now that has been in an offensive funk since Leagues Cup of last year. The offense hasn't looked good since last summer.
Yeah.
And they have changed players. They have, last year it was, well, the offense is bad because Lucho isn't interested, or Lucho is hurt, or Lucho's going through other issues with his family. And they whiffed at the transfer deadline, and Nicholas Joachini, he's just not good. So, okay, that's the excuse. That's what's going on there. Now we don't have Lucho. We have Evander, who is an MLS MVP candidate last year. We have Kevin Denke, who is an elite striker, as opposed to Joachini, who was just sort of available when they struck out with everything else. And the offense looks fundamentally the same in terms of problems generating chances, problems generating space, being too slow on the ball, being indecisive on the ball, lacking crispness, lacking instinctive movement. And, it's early, but the same problems are around that were around last year. And it's leading to some uncomfortable questions, I think, is how I would describe it.
Well, the only hope for the team at this point, and before I get to that, I do want to say, Chief, you are understating, I guess, the amount of money that has been spent on defense. Like, this team spends more on its center backs than anybody else in the league.
Yeah, right. But the main one isn't playing though. Yeah, so I'm trying to be clear about that.
But Miles is a high TAM player. Hadabi's a TAM player. Flores was a $2 million transfer. So there's money spent on the back as well. Certainly not as much as on the attack, but when you compare it to the teams that we're playing against, certainly more than Philly has spent. I'm sure Tim Ream has probably drawn a good paycheck, but
sure.
The real hope for this team is that they're just kind of way more disjointed than anybody in the league, so that they have, like, I guess, that much more room to grow. Because it's not a situation where where you're expecting big additions in the summer. And frankly, if they do have a lot of turnover in the summer, things went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Like, all of these players on this team were signed.
Right.
Like, whatever you think the best starting 11 is, those are all players on TAM contracts, DP deals, U22 deals, or Roman.
Right.
And then, so
yeah,
this is a situation where we have like we lost to a team starting Brant Bronico yesterday. And so it's not a situation where we have like some low level MLS guy who's, maybe decent and holding space for the big addition in the summer.
Right.
This is the team. So the only hope for improvement, and I think that hope exists, is that for whatever reason, they are just like uniquely not put together with each other yet. And so that as they improve throughout the year, as all the teams they're playing right now also are going to hope improve throughout the year, they have more room to grow.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make me feel great to be like, as all the teams across the league, many of whom look better than us so far, improve as they get more time together and more practice through the year, we're going to benefit kind of uniquely more from that.
Yeah. Yeah, we have, I think it's fair to say, an incredibly high ceiling when it comes to the talent on this team. And I also think it's fair to say that they have not, I think, come close to reaching that, which would make you think one of two things, which is, one, they're still going to grow into that incredibly high ceiling, or two, all these guys actually secretly suck and everybody was just way off on their talent evaluation.
There's a third option too. And, I know people are uncomfortable bringing this up.
Please.
And that you get pushback when you bring this up. The third option may be that the way these players are being coached and the tactics that are being employed for these players are not maximizing their skill set. That's an option too.
Mm-hmm.
That you have a group of incredibly talented players who need something more provided to them tactically or system-wise or explanation-wise to unlock the best version of who they are. And I'm not the person that's probably the best to notice that or see that. But if we all agree the roster is talented and the results aren't matching the talent level, then you don't even need to take a logical leap to say, well, then there is something that is not translating the talent to the results.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be an indictment on any one person in particular. It's just that whatever the message is from the coaching staff either isn't reaching the players, or the message isn't such that it maximizes the ability to get returns out of the money that's been invested and the talent that, you know, universally everyone agrees is there. That's the frustrating part of this, is that it would be one thing if we were looking at this with sort of orange and blue colored glasses on the talent evaluation of this team.
Right.
Everyone, top to bottom, in the media around this league agrees that this is an incredibly talented team. And they were high on just about every one of the signings that were made. There wasn't that puzzling, like, well, I don't know if this guy's game will translate to this league, or that was, you know, a gross overpay. There was none of that.
Right.
So looking at this, you know, it is one of those options. But I think that third option, I don't think it can be discounted at this point, especially considering that, again, the same problems we saw on display in this game and that we've seen on display in a lot of the games this year, they're the same things we were talking about in September as this team limped its way into the playoffs and ultimately got knocked out by New York.
Well, we saw both of the goals that were scored already against Philly. The Pavel giveaway, where he plays the ball while the defender is running toward him and probably going to play the ball if he doesn't play it, looked a lot like the Anunga Robinson kind of miscommunication against Philly. And the other goal where it's just, you know, straight up just got beat by a fairly, like, kind of a fairly rudimentary pass where it's just, I'm going to pass it past the defenders and the striker's going to beat them to it and get there. I mean, those are like, the second one is more alarming to me. I mean, the first one you can chalk up to like players make mistakes or they still have trouble communicating with each other. The second one is just, I mean, is it anything other than just poor defending?
Yeah. I mean, it's a U22 kid a little out of position getting punished.
But we've seen we've seen everybody we've seen all the center backs get beat exactly that way this year.
Yeah. I just don't want to discount the, I don't know, the tangibles in the difference between Ajiman and Flores. Like, they are radically different human beings, and Ajiman is huge and freakishly fast, and Flores is not these things, and then he's already out of position. I'm not saying it's not his fault. He's out of position, but yeah, he just gets absolutely punished on that, and he was getting punished all night. That's why he ended up ultimately with a red card in this game.
And it's also, it's doubly frustrating that we don't score goals like that.
Right.
We do not, for all the talent we have, our strikers never beat someone to the spot. It's happened once this year with Denke getting that ball over the top in the first home game of the year. Toronto was not a Toronto. That was Red Bulls.
Red Bull. Yep.
Right. Like, but there is never a line breaking pass.
Evander to Kubo. But that was in transition.
Yeah, that was in transition. It wasn't, you know, this guy gets on the better side of a defender, leaves somebody in the dust, beats him to the spot, finishes at the line. Like, it never happens. Our line breaking passes never work that way. The striker never beats the defender to the spot. And part of the reason why is it's the frustrating aspect of this team that it plays offense stuck in molasses.
Yeah. Yep.
Everyone receives the ball and stands around waiting to figure out what their next move is. There is no quick pinging of the ball. There is no decisive play. It's wait, pass sideways, wait, pass backwards, wait, try to thread a ball through and get it intercepted. And we've been watching this for, like I said, 8-9 months now.
There was
with a offseason in between.
There was a moment late in the game that was kind of emblematic of that, where I think, so Pavel got the ball. I think he was near the top of the box. I think he received it from Orishano, but regardless, Orishano was just standing there, and Pavel played it to, I thought was a good spot.
Oh my God.
It was a wide open space at the top of the box. And because Orishano was just standing there, there was a delay and he does end up getting to the ball, but he gets to the ball and there's a defender right on him and he doesn't get a good opportunity. If he had already been like running to that space, which is something that I feel like our opponents this year are always doing. If he had already been like running to that space and moving, if he gets to that ball, he has a wide open shot. Yes, it is outside the box, but it's a great look for especially on his left foot, and it's on his left foot, especially for a player like him. But because he's just flat-footed, it's nothing.
It's like the worst things of like youth soccer, of like just pass and stand still. It's like there's no sense of moving into space or giving your guy an outlet.
I don't blame him though, because you watch this team play and every time someone receives a pass, they stop. Every time someone receives a pass, there is a stop. They stop forward momentum and they look around and they're waiting for something to happen. And so there are lots of times on this team where players make runs and the ball never goes there because the person that's looking for the run is standing still. They've stopped and received the ball and are standing still. Instead of receiving the ball and immediately hitting the second ball, they're hesitant and indecisive. And so runs go unrewarded. And as that happens over and over again, more people stop making the runs and the communication breaks down. There was another opportunity in this game where Lucas Engel gets caught between wanting to shoot and wanting to cross, chooses to cross. There's no one making the run. There was a play Evander made where he plays the ball into space where he expects, I think it was either Yedlin or Orishano to run into, and they're not moving. The ball goes into a corner to no one, and the attack breaks down. And that's just where this team's at right now. And this was, again, minus Miazga, this was the full first team that this team could field last night in terms of lineups. And it's just, whatever it is isn't working right now.
Yeah.
So I'll ask this question then to sort of push so we don't just keep repeating ourselves over and over again. What is in the common refrain is that this team is suffering from the Champions Cup hangover. And someone made the comment that was one team looks like it had played twice as many matches as the other team. And in fact, that was the case. I think this was Charlotte's 4th or 5th match of the year.
Yes.
And this was our 8th.
It was their 4th, our 8th.
Our 8th. How much of that is a factor right now? Because if you can say that that's a factor and you can convince me that these top tier professional athletes at the peak of their physical condition are somehow sleepy and tired after playing a few extra soccer matches, then maybe that is something I don't buy it, but maybe that is something that goes to Grayson's point of here's a reason to expect it will potentially get better if they are not playing as many matches. To what degree do you put any stock into that?
So I do want to point out the only teams that have played in Champions League that have more points than us are Miami and Colorado. But Colorado was dumped out in the first round. So they had
I hate to do this to you, Vancouver.
Oh, I forgot about Vancouver.
Yeah.
I just can't believe, you just look at Vancouver.
They don't make any sense.
And so Vancouver has 4 wins in MLS play, and they're advancing farther in Champions League than we are.
And 2 of those were without their inarguably best player.
That's
But
true.
that you can chalk up that to the fact of that they're spiting us for the rhetoric surrounding Canada right now, and that they are doing something that they otherwise wouldn't be motivated to do because they're taking the whole 51st state thing personally.
Vancouver advancing out of Champions League without Ryan Gauld is something. Like
It's a problem.
I notice when teams around the league seem to still be able to get results and even get like pretty impressive results when they're missing a top player. It's just information. It sits. I don't do anything with it.
I stew on it.
It's been a mixed bag for CCL teams for sure. There have been sort of consensus teams that everybody would assume would be, world beaters this year. Looking at Columbus, they're sitting 2 points ahead of us. They've gotten 2 draws instead of wins, or instead of losses where we have had. So they only have 2 wins in their first 4. We have 2 wins in our first 4. They got dumped out pretty early in Champions League as well.
Who?
Columbus Crew.
Columbus hasn't played yet.
Oh.
Wait, no, they did get dumped out. You're right. They got dumped out the same round we did.
Yeah.
They
by
They didn't play
LAFC.
the first round.
Yeah.
But
they got the buy-in.
LAFC is sitting.
Yeah.
So Columbus
8th.
also is ahead of us and has played in Champions League. But LAFC is sitting exactly where we are.
Yep.
2 wins, 2 losses, 4 goals for, 6 goals against.
RSL's in the same spot. Seattle's in a slightly worse spot. And Seattle's a team that was right there with us as everybody's favorite shield picks. And they just had Paul Arriola go out for the season. They're in a tough spot as well.
Yeah, he did his ACL.
I would say this to your point, Chief. I don't like it being a point. I think it's annoying. I think it's stupid. I completely agree. I think it lets teams off in a weird way of like, oh, it's okay to lose in one of these 2 competitions because it's really hard. I think that is incredibly stupid and we should #demand more. But I will also say that this tournament is not necessarily new. It has been around for a long time. And this is a sort of known, documented phenomenon that either success in the league or success in CONCACAF Champions League has to come at the expense of either. So the year that Seattle won the whole damn thing, they missed the playoffs for literally the first time in their franchise's history. So like there's a weirdness with the relationship with this tournament and league form that I don't want it to be there.
But did LAFC make the final the year they won the Shield and the Cup?
I think they won. I think they made the final the year after.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anybody has made like the Champions League final and MLS Cup final. Maybe one of those Toronto teams did in 2017, where they went on a couple of MLS Cup runs back to back to back. That's got to be the only one. But yeah, typically this is a sort of documented phenomenon that, I mean, at this point, I just sort of have to concede to the people who may know this world a little bit better and say, oh, all right, every expert on this topic is saying, give FC Cincinnati grace. They've been through this weird start to the season. Now that they're out, now that, they've gotten that out of the way, now the real season begins. I'm inclined to believe it. And that's why I'm not quite at and to be clear, every criticism of the offense is 100% valid. I don't think my panic level is as high as other people in the fan base.
My only reaction to that is, I'm happy to take the reasons that have been offered so far for now. The players coming in late, the level of turnover, and the fixture congestion from Champions League, not necessarily the fatigue portion, but definitely the, with players coming in late and never having a week off together to train together for a consecutive week. I'll take those for now. But, I think now we're going to start to see, whether those are going to be deemed, in my view, like valid excuses, or they just didn't have it this year for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And then I guess my next point is like, if turnover and Champions League are going to be problems for this team inherently, well, like we want to be we want to do well enough every year to be in Champions League, right? And then if you don't think there's going to be turnover next year, I think you're kidding yourself. Like you can look around the team and just say, like, just looking at like who's on an expiring contract this year, much less players who they may have an option to keep around that I'm already wondering, are they going to keep them around? And then maybe other guys who might just want to move for some reason, at the end of the year, or guys who might be sold for big money in the summer or next winter. Like there's going to be a lot of turnover next year, and hopefully they're also going to be back in Champions League. So I do want to see, like, one, I want to see that those were actually reasons that affected the first part of the year, and they are as good as we think they are, and they show that the rest of the year. But second of all, like, I'm kind of hoping that next year we see some learning and growth on these points, that either they do a better job of getting the full team into the training camp earlier, or they find out some way to manage that.
Or just purposely lose earlier. Like if you've already recognized this as detrimental to your overall goals of domestic success, then just plan accordingly. Like, I don't know.
Or, I don't know. To a certain extent, this is lowercase o on the coaching staff to a certain extent, that we've heard consistently about, there's fixture congestion. There's a lot of matches being played. There wasn't a lot of rotation during this time period either. And you can say
there was against Motagua.
Sure. But like last night, you have an incredibly tough match in Mexico. And if you're going to use the excuse these guys have dead legs, where was Alvis Powell in this game?
Right.
Or where was Corey Baird in this game? Or where was, like any number of players, Anunga in the midfield for Obi, like to say that like this is punishing on a team. This team really didn't go into its depth at all to find fresh legs. And if you're saying these guys are fatigued from fixture congestion, and maybe it's Grayson's point, maybe it's that it isn't so much the fatigue on these players. Maybe it's just we talk about the runs not happening, or we talk about the team playing tentatively with the ball, and maybe that's fixed with just more time on the training ground together. And it's not so much the fatigue as it is constant travel and recovery versus actual training. Maybe that's the thing. But if you're going to say it was, fatigue induced by the number of fixtures played, there's a solution for that. And I know Pat Noonan hates it, and that's you got to use your bench depth a little bit.
Yeah. The last time this team didn't have a midweek game was February 16th. It has been an entire month of multi-match weeks. And now they finally have a sort of quote unquote normal week ahead of them. Maybe something looks different. Now, if something doesn't look different, this starts to become a more uncomfortable conversation.
Two things will look different. One is Kevin Denke won't be here next weekend, and neither will Teenage Adebi. And then maybe neither will Gilberto Flores.
Right. I'd say probably at this point. Yeah. And potentially Shirilla got called up to the U18.
Yeah. Shirilla got called up to U18 Romania. And it's like, that's part of the thing here too, is it's like, oh, well, they'll finally have a week together. No, they won't. Like with this team, like there is always something. There's always someone going on some stupid international break, which, you know what, at this point, I just assume every other weekend is an international break at this point. Like there's always someone being called in to some stupid, meaningless tournament that's got 5 initials in it that I'm being told is the most important thing for this player's career, while we pay them millions of dollars to be here. I'm so sick of this shit.
Hey, Will Smith is performing at the CONCACAF Champions League final halftime show, okay?
Cool.
Performing what exactly?
I assume getting
Big
jiggy
Willie
with it.
style.
Yeah.
Right. Miami, because they'll be playing there, because somehow the Inter Miami will be playing in this
He
game.
will play Miami.
Bienvenidos a Miami. But like,
I do think the
it's
game's
always
in
going to be
LA,
something.
but-
They're like if you're waiting for this team to have like a week where all 18
right.
of the players are in and training, it's not going to happen, man. Like,
Yeah. You also wonder too, like, where is Haglund? Where is Miazga? I know Haglund got some run out with FCC too, but like, again, I don't know. Maybe the turf at Charlotte makes you reassess Haglund, but could have used his veteran leadership back there and fresh-ish legs.
We just need to forget about Miazga until he shows up like a new signing.
Yeah,
Like
just assume he's not
the
there.
hope that he's going to come back and fix the defense. Just forget it. Like maybe that'd be wonderful, but we can't bank on that happening anytime soon.
The longer it takes, the less good he probably is. That's the math I keep thinking.
And then as far as, to Chief's point, when are they going to have an 18 together for a full week? I'm not in. I'm done with that excuse.
Yeah.
Like I understand that there's people who are gone for international break this week. We had the fixture congestion. It's over now. It's your job to have a team and make it play good.
yeah, it's not going to be the same. Like it's not going to be that way. I mean, you said about Flores. Do we want to talk about that now in terms of like what that young man got himself into in this match?
Gilberto Flores had a pretty rough evening, I would say, for a man that I've been happy to sing the praises of so far this year. He has had, it was a night to forget against Charlotte. Patrick Agimont just abusing the hell out of him. Wilfred Zaha abusing the hell out of him as well. It was tough. Robinson, when he was out there, was picking up the pieces well enough, was able to track back and break up some iffy moments. But he gives up two pretty rough moments in this game. And, well, I should say three rough moments. Two of them lead to yellow cards. One of them leads to a goal. But I don't know. I guess this is probably the moment to bring this up. Let's go ahead and knock this out. Flores, his second yellow card. That's going to be our referee moment where we might highlight that our friends over at Lasik.com have been offering, I am not joking, free LASIK surgery for all MLS referees. This is a real thing, and I wish our boy in the center circle would have taken him up on it. Look, I cannot emphasize this enough. This segment is literally sponsored by LASIK. Like, this is not a joke. This is not a bit. They are offering that special again to all MLS referees. They are all also offering the 12 listeners of this podcast. Again, this is not a joke. A special $1,100 discount if you go to LASIK.com/thepostcincy. The link will be in the description. I challenge you to find a soccer podcast offering you a $1,000 discount on anything, and we are offering a $1,100 discount to listeners of this podcast. Look, to be clear, LASIK.com network, it includes Lasik Plus Cincinnati, which has one of the world's top LASIK surgeons in Dr. Marino. So schedule a free consultation at LASIK.com/thepostcincy. That is Cincy with a Y, which is how it should be. No caps, no spaces. Oh, the second yellow, gentlemen. Not a foul. If that is a foul, there should have been 800 fouls called in this game. On the second yellow as well, which the unwritten rule is you get a hint more leeway there if you're not doing anything too crazy. This is so tough.
It's not. And you know what's funny about this is just why this league struggles and why more of these officials should take up LASIK for their free eye corrective surgery.
Yes.
It's I think back to that game a couple games ago where Obi was on a yellow and committed no less than 3 additional fouls that could possibly have been card worthy. And on each of them, he had the official go over and do the no more.
Right.
And the warning.
The knock it off.
And my young friend, Mr. Flores, Senor Flores, Gilberto Flores, for incredibly light contact, where you had to go back and watch the replay just to double check he actually got the guy.
Right.
That siren outside
danger.
is just kind of probably driving somebody to emergency LASIK surgery. If you guys hear that, probably.
There's never a bad time to get like LASIK surgery, and there's never a bad ride to take to get there. It's an awful call in so much as that game was done and dusted. But as a result, now the ref is now choosing to influence the next match for FC Cincinnati, which it is a problem with the way the card system works in soccer in general now. And if you're going to be giving that second card that late in the match for nonviolent conduct,
and for at best iffy, at best a marginal foul.
Right.
Yeah. You have now taken yourself out of the realm of ruining one game and are choosing to ruin a second game for a team. Yeah. And that there should be heightened scrutiny from the league on calls like that, where,
that same play hasn't been a foul multiple times the game.
Yes.
And you choose to do it this late at that time and knock him out of not just that game, but the next one.
It's wild that this one was the one that they had to brandish the card. There were 4 other fouls committed by FC Cincinnati, or tackles or tough challenges on breakaways that I thought probably could have been or should have been yellows that weren't. So to go from that to this, it felt like the weakest way of trying to make a point or send a message to a young kid, a newbie to the league of some kind. I don't know. It was just a bad look.
It was a vibes red, a vibe second yellow, where the game was going incredibly poorly, and the ref in that moment decided to say, "You know what? You thought it wasn't going to get any worse than this. Surprise, asshole!" And then holds up the yellow, and now we have to deal with the fallout from this, in addition to getting absolutely dog walked in the game.
I got the sense that the ref was done with the game and had decided that we weren't coming back, because there were a couple of opportunities to give Charlotte players yellow cards. There was one where
a PK later in the game.
Yeah, for sure. There was one where Orishano was dribbling. He beat a guy. The guy just reached out and grabbed Orishano's shirt and pulled him back. I mean, he's in the attacking third at that point. That's stopping a promising attack.
Right.
100%. Stop. It
was comically.
It's not even a play on the ball. He just reaches out, grabs him.
No.
That's textbook yellow. There's multiple times where Charlotte players commit a foul. They get called for a foul and they just boot the ball. They fight for the ball and boot it away.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen that given. We've seen that given as a foul, and it didn't bother me as much when T-Grace was doing it, because I'm maybe the Champions League refs call it differently.
Right.
To have it happen in an MLS League game, given how often we've seen guys on our team even get second yellows for this kind of thing, and to see it not even register for the ref was insane. And then, Chief, yes, there was a moment in the game that should have been, in my opinion, a penalty. I forget who it was, but somebody was running for a ball in the box. Maybe it was Dono.
Got decleated by a challenge.
And it wasn't a play on the ball. And he had a chance to get there if the guy hadn't come in his path and just knocked him over.
Right. Oh my God. It's just
and I think that the ref was just I'm not interested in this game anymore.
And this goes back to a point that we've heard referees make in different venues and different areas, where it's they view themselves as like like I think of it as like the TSA and the Loki TV show, where it's like there's the main timeline that this game is supposed to go, and if there is any deviation from this timeline of how I think this game is supposed to go, I will keep it in line. So if the vibes suggest that this is a Charlotte route, I need to make sure it's a Charlotte route. So if I have the opportunity to keep it going in that way, we're going to go there. But if there is an opportunity that where FC Cincinnati could mount a comeback, well, that wasn't in the cards. We can't have that. We've got to stick to our storyline here.
They think of themselves more as conductors,
right? Exactly. That's the phrase they've used.
I think about the interview at the beginning of the movie Tar, where she talks about that like Mahler symphony, and she's like, "Yeah, Leonard Bernstein's version was a crisp 2.5 minutes." Then the guy asks her, like, "How long is your version?" And she's like, 7 minutes. And I think the refs, and I've heard them make comments that support this point of view. They think of themselves as like kind of imposing an aesthetic vision on a game.
Yes.
And they even say like, people need to understand that like the same conduct might be a foul. It might not be a foul under different circumstances. Right. And right. I think you see that, but it's not a fair way to play the game. Like the stuff where it's like, oh, well, a team is trying to come back. So they're given, because they're down by 1 and they've been attacking goal, and then they're being extra aggressive and committing conduct that should be a foul. But I guess since they're trying to come back and have a chance of doing it, the ref just give them more leeway. And right. I hate that. Right. It makes the game harder to watch. It really does. And it penalizes a team for coming out early.
Yes.
And it's you're down 2 goals. It's late in the game. You're not going to get a PK in this because the game is already over.
Right.
And we're not going to stop the game and give you a PK, because even if we did, you're still not winning this game. So therefore, all crime is legal. Sound the purge.
Or you'll get it only under the most blatant of circumstances.
Right. It has to be so in your face. And even then, VAR may have to come in and save you. It's so much. I don't know. I don't know, like, so he blows the whistle for a foul on Flores here, which then I do think sort of he has to give it a yellow if that's a foul there. And then at that point, it really doesn't matter if Flores had a yellow or not. He's got to give the yellow and therefore the red. But like, I don't think if like the rules of VAR allow us to rescind this. I assume
the VAR doesn't let you. The VAR doesn't let you. What do they call it? Well, they don't let you review and like intercede in that.
Right.
Intervene. There's no VAR intervention under those circumstances. It is, as I read the rules, and this is kind of a common refrain because I feel like we've heard a million different things about how these appeal rules apply.
Right.
The plain language of the published appeal rules indicate to me that FC Cincinnati could appeal this decision.
Okay.
Because it's a second yellow that resulted in a sending off.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah.
And if they're successful, they could get his 1-game suspension rescinded. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're real aggressive with the appeals. The rules kind of discourage you from being too aggressive because there's pretty harsh penalties if they deem your appeal frivolous.
Yeah, but you have to put up some like multi-$1,000
you do
bond.
You do have to put up a bond for the appeal, and then if they deem your appeal frivolous, I think you lose your appeal for like 2 seasons. I'd have to go. I don't know if that's right. I'd have to go back and check that, and I'm not going to right now.
But any sort of losing your appeal for a season is going to make you question whether this one is going to be worth it. Yeah,
because you do forfeit the bond. You do forfeit the bond, and you lose your right to appeal for a period of time.
Does the bond count against the salary charge?
I don't think so. But
you're trying to make a player available.
Do you have to call like a bail bondsman in order to post that money or something like that?
Where's this cash held?
Could it be 10% property or surety or something like that?
They hold it in the same escrow account that holds T. Higgins' guaranteed money.
Bitcoin, got it.
But I feel like even if they were to lose this appeal, it would take a crazy person to deem, or a crazy or vindictive person, which we do deal with sometimes.
Yeah, they're out there.
To deem this frivolous. But I always get the sense that the way FC Cincinnati approaches it is they like give somebody a call and they say like, so rather than like use up one of their appeals, it feels like they kick the tires on it and then they get kind of quietly told no. And so then they don't appeal. Because this happened, I think, with this happens all the time. Like there's all types of things where it's like where it gets reported that they didn't appeal. And I think one of those examples is the Matt Miazga situation.
Yeah.
Where it was from 23, where it was like reported they didn't appeal.
Yeah, and officially they didn't. Yeah.
We know for a fact they spoke to people and tried to talk people through it, and we're told like you're going to lose this. Yeah. So I who knows what's going to happen with this? I would like to see them appeal it because right now they have at most
this weekend. Yeah.
That right now they have at most one healthy center back available.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get Adnan probably back up would be my guess. Or
maybe Haglund gets to come back for the first time, but I don't know if they feel comfortable with his health
on turf.
And who knows, maybe Miles actually is hurt.
Can we talk about that too a little bit? Because that was a weird moment.
But then
in
we got to
game
get out of this
where,
game.
But hold on, I guess, have we heard anything about what the injury was? I know they said that he could have potentially gone back in, but they were for precautionary reasons they chose not to. That was such a bizarre situation where he goes down, and initially it looks like one of those dreaded non-contact injuries on AstroTurf where you're thinking, oh my God, they've done it to us again. And then as he's walking off, he walks off under his own power, smiling, seemingly joking around and like high-fiving people like everything's okay, and then goes and proceeds to sit on the bench and receive, as best I can tell, no medical treatment. Like that was a very odd situation. I don't know that I've ever seen an injury situation quite like that where a player was immediately subbed off.
Immediately. Hadebe is up and warming up. And I'm thinking, oh God.
I thought Miles was going to go back into the game based on his reaction that it was an overreaction. Everything's okay. Put Hadebe back down. But no, he's like fully noping out of the game right there.
And as he's leaving the game, there's not even like a pretend limp or teammate with their arm under his shoulder. Like he's just walking off under his own power like it's the 75th minute and they just need some fresh legs out there. Like it was weird, and he was sort of laughing and smiling. They said, I think the official line was he felt tightness and it wasn't worth the risk given where the center back room is right now and playing on turf, which I can kind of understand. But also there's a part of me that thinks, man, I don't really want my captain to be willing to walk off the field for nothing. At the same time, I don't want him to be stupid. It's a weird one.
Well, he probably does have some PTSD, just post-traumatic turf stress syndrome.
It has almost claimed his career, twice in Atlanta?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was like part of the line with him signing here was he wouldn't have to play on turf all the time.
Did we give him a get out of turf free card? I mean, just whenever he wants.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're more cautious with him on turf.
Yeah.
Than they might be with other players. That said, like kind of the running refrain with Miles Robinson is that he's happy to be here as long as he doesn't have to play for FC Cincinnati that often. So he got to skip 2 months or so last year, and to be like the only player I think that went to both Copa America and the Olympics.
Yes.
So if that's just the deal, where it's just
he doesn't have to play that.
You don't have to play for us very much. Then that's the deal. But look, I don't want to be a hardo and be like, your team captain has to set an example and gut it out, and you can't be pulling yourselves out of games if you're not really hurt. So I'm not going to do that. And I'm just going to give him, I mean, we definitely do need to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Because
no
he is a
doubt.
player,
Yeah, no,
he is a player that
bizarre.
has
It was just
experienced
weird.
injuries. It is a weird situation. I'm not sure
Yeah.
I've seen it before, especially that early in a game. But I'm glad that he seems to not be like genuinely hurt, because as Kevin said, in a non-contact situation like that, more often than not, the guy ends up missing time.
Yeah.
Like in a situation where the guy just sits down early in a game and pulls himself out, he usually ends up missing time. So I'd rather him pull himself out overly cautiously and not miss time than gut through the Charlotte game and end up missing time. So
yeah, I don't think we win this game if Robinson is out there the whole time. So like from that perspective,
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe we lose 1-0, right? Like maybe he clears up one of those. It's weird. Also, just very quickly, I loved this moment of the game. Denke goes down after honestly just getting his pocket picked. He does this sort of like, oh no, I pulled my ego sort of injury thing where he lays down, and Yedlin immediately runs over to him. I'll say, being a very good captain in a moment where he is not the captain, and explaining to Denke, hey man, if you actually call for the trainers, you have to like sit out for 2 minutes. So please just bounce right back up if you're not hurt.
Yeah, because you knew exactly what he was saying to him.
Yeah. It would have been cool if we had a, like a hard knock situation where he was mic'd up. That would have been electric content. So damn, lose 2-0. And hey, we don't have a match this weekend. This week, I should say. There's certainly one this weekend. We don't have one this midweek, which is nice to not have to worry about. Is there anything else with this game? Should we head on over to part 2, discuss some Patreon questions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I think we're done here.
Before we get on over to the next part of the episode, I get to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts. That's right. Cincinnati institution, Cincinnati legends. That is what you will find at Cincy Shirts, because they are Cincinnati legends and a Cincinnati institution in and of themselves. Look, I've said it before on this podcast. I'll say it again. There probably isn't an FC Cincinnati in Major League Soccer without Cincy Shirts. Okay, you cannot tell the story of FC Cincinnati without Cincy Shirts. And what better time to tell that story than right now, because Cincy Shirts has been authorized to release vintage throwback gear. That's right. If you have not heard about this, let this be the first time you have heard about it. The retro crest, the retro logo, the original look of FC Cincinnati is available at Cincy Shirts. Go check it out. Also, while you're there, guess what? We sell postcast merch at Cincy Shirts as well. They do our shirts, so go check those out. There's a link down in the description to go right to the Cincy postcast stuff. Hey, when you are there buying postcast merch, buying anything, and buying the vintage throwback stuff for FCC, use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, ThePostCincy. It works in store. It works online. It'll knock 10% off your total purchase price. It helps the show out, okay? It proves to Cincy Shirts that somebody out there is actually listening to the show. Please use the code. The promo code is ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, Cincy spelled with a Y, exactly how it should be. You put it all together, you save a little bit of money, we get a tiny little kickback. It's a nice little arrangement, okay? Go support Cincy Shirts, go support the postcast, and thank you for doing so. All right, we are back and better than ever. I don't know. We have Patreon questions from our lovely, talented, honestly, smelling pretty good these days. Patrons from the Patreon, they pay us $2 a month to literally and figuratively keep the lights on at the Post. While, of course, we're all getting LASIK surgery, somebody's going to need to make sure that the website doesn't go offline, for example. So that's where the Patreon comes in. And the Patreon, it comes with like 2 or 3 perks. One of those perks is you get to ask a question that we answer on air. And here are those questions. This one comes to us from Sean Pace, who asked this 18 hours ago. So I wonder how he's feeling. He says, after a week of going 1-5 on goals for and goals against, which of those concerns you more? I'm going to say, I'll summarize the previous hour and 20 minutes of this podcast and say, the offense concerns us more.
The offense is the concern. And it's been a concern for a while. Like, it got to the point last night when I was watching this game where I had a very intrusive thought of, what if Nicholas Gioacchini doesn't suck? Like, what if he is actually pretty decent and just this offensive scheme is really bad at creating goals? And that intrusive thought, that didn't make me happy when I had it, and it was very difficult to get out of my head for the second half of that game.
Well, I put it on Twitter that maybe it didn't really matter that Albright wasn't able to land one of his striker targets last summer, because they would have been in the team not very long, right?
Right.
They would have had to gel with the rest of the players and had to incorporate in the offense. And, would we have just had the exact same issues that we have had to start this year at best, frankly, right? Like, at worst, there's systemic problems,
right,
with not being able to get anything out of a striker. But at best, it would have taken, the same amount of time that it's taking now, and we still would have gotten drummed out of the playoffs. And then maybe ended up with a player that we frankly don't rate as highly as Denke.
It is crazy to think where Sargent's career could be in this alternate timeline, because right now he looks destined for a mid-table Premier League team, and he might have played himself out of the national team in your proposed alternate timeline. So damn.
I just want to know what gelling means. Like,
we'll
when we say
out.
gelling,
It doesn't matter.
What do you do to gel?
The next time we get a player on, we need to zero in on gelling.
Well, somebody asked, I think it was Carter, asked Pat what he needs to see from Denke, or what they're going to work on to get him more opportunities, or get him some more goals. And Pat's response was basically, it's a secret.
Oh, that's
what is he going on? Are they sending him on Kairos? What?
And I don't need to know whatever he thinks isn't going right, or whatever they're going to do with him, but we are going to eventually need to see it. So we're going to find out.
Where was there was an infamous, I'm so glad I saved this earlier. There's an infamous tweet from Manchester United in 2013. It said, David Moyes says #MUFC must improve in a number of areas, including passing, creating chances, and defending.
Cool. It's a hell of that's a man who has identified the problem right there. Be the solution. I love that.
It pops into my head every once in a while these days. Passing, chance creation, and defending. Yeah, you fix those, and we'll be in a way better place.
God, get that turned around. We're going to be in business here.
James Pooley asks, what prearranged event would
Didn't
be
this guy
important?
already have a March question?
Oh, wow, this is a great call out. Oh my God, he did. Grayson, we found a fraud.
Wow. Wow. Cook 'em, Grayson.
The thought never occurred to me that somebody could just ask it twice and I would not double check. Incredible work, Grayson.
I guarantee you others have gotten away with this already, but
I would hope so. Well, since he asked it and I've already started, what prearranged event would be important enough to cause you to miss an FCC MLS Cup final?
Oh.
So prearranged, I take prearranged to like exclude like funerals.
Birth of children and
Right,
funerals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sudden emergencies.
Right. I mean, I guess if it was, I have one sibling, they're already married. My sister's already married. My wife's family, both her siblings are married. It would probably have to be something like that, where it is a wedding of a direct blood relative. Because I'm noping out of cousins, uncles, aunts, nephews, all that stuff. That would probably be about it.
The only thing that would make me pause, it would be like some sort of work related thing where like missing it would cause me to lose my job. Like there's some sort of like very important trip.
Yeah, like I would think I've done a good enough job by that point that they know that I'm choosing the bear.
What did the question say host?
No, it just says attending an FCC MLS Cup final.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it also depends on where this MLS Cup final is. Because I'm not, depending on like, I don't know if I would go to one in Vancouver. I mean, I would consider it. But
no, I would absolutely go to the one in Vancouver. No, like the first time we make MLS Cup, I'm going to the final. I will, like the meme thing. I will be there. I will be at that match.
Yeah, I mean, like a wedding of a close family member is basically it.
Yeah, and
I don't know, probably a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah. For Grayson, it would just be I've got ski lift tickets. I'm not giving
up.
Not in like early December.
I don't know. We flip to a winter schedule. This could all of a sudden be May.
Well, also fine, same.
What if
I
it's
don't know
like
when ski season is? I have no idea.
choice skiing,
there
but
has to
like
be
somewhere
snow.
else?
There's always snow somewhere.
December feels like a time where snow could be there.
Early December.
Matt Reeder asks, not counting the last episode, what is the worst Bailey song that has been proposed or performed? Alternatively, has the club ever stepped in and blocked a song?
The answer to that question is the second part of that question is yes. There's a very funny story about a VIP that was up in a luxury box.
You should just tell this story. It's been long enough. It's funny.
Yeah, tell the story.
All right. When we were back at Nippert back in the day, as a special guest of the ownership, Cincinnati Reds legend Johnny Bench, I believe, was the player that was up in a luxury box with grandkids, I'm going to assume. Yeah. And Johnny was not very happy that the F word was being used liberally in some of the songs that were being done in the Bailey. And so there's one of them where let them know you're here and make some MF and noise is the lyric to the song.
Family friendly noise.
And
that's where this comes from.
That's where it came from. So that was being shouted over the megaphone by the people when they used to use the megaphones in the Bailey back in the day. I think they still do, but it got blasted directly at the Bench family. They didn't like that, and the edict came down. That song needs to change if that's going to be continued to be sung. And so the insert became make some family friendly noise as sort of a malicious compliance issue.
The other threat I heard about that song, which is one that I do not believe, but if somebody can like provide a letter, I will believe it, is at that time, FCC was being broadcast over Star 64, which is over the air, which is the domain of the FCC. And they were saying,
FCC.
Yeah, the other FCC. They were saying that the swears were coming in so clear, the FCC was starting fines for not cleaning up the broadcast.
Right. And there would have to be someone on the dump button the entire time.
Yeah. But that was also why. So
I think that's BS.
I completely agree with you, but it was brought up
Total
multiple
BS.
times. So,
as for the worst song that they sing,
ready, set, go. Come on, baby. I don't even know if it's still alive somewhere. Somebody wrote.
Oh no, that I have the link to that still.
Please,
like
you will have to share this in the Discord.
We will. So I don't remember what the order of operations was. Either FC Cincinnati commissioned this local band to do a song that would have been like the theme song for FC Cincinnati, or this group just sort of sent the song and was asking that it be used on like a spec thing. But it was a straight up butt rock anthem, and it was really, really bad. And the title of the song was Ready, Set, Go. It got played for us once at a supporters meeting, and like there was just the dead silence in the room afterwards. Everyone looked at each other and was like, no, please never let this see the light of day. That was bad.
So
I'm not musically inclined. I came up with precisely one song on my own, that it was supposed to be a player song for Austin Berry, to the song Merry Moon. It's out there somewhere if you want to read the lyrics to it. It was very bad, and I'm still very upset we didn't do it. The only song we do right now that I don't like is there's one where we use the city's Latin motto, Junta Juvent, and it is the most shoehorned nonsense in the world. And it's just, there is no way to sing the Latin silent J that, like, with it not sounding like you're a hardo for including a Latin motto. And I hate that song, and it's awful, and it should go away.
Fair enough.
That's my take. So there you go.
FCC has done a good job of sort of purging a lot of the American outlaw standards, and I appreciate that. Unlike a good number of MLS franchises. Let's see here. I'll ask one more here. Oh, yeah, here, while we're on the topic. The Drizzle asks, so there is a petition.
Drizzle also feels like they've had multiple. But maybe it's just, I just remember that there is a The Drizzle.
I think we just remembered the Drizzle's name.
We did an info dump of February questions at the
That's
end.
possible,
where I think we're yeah.
We did do that. Also, I was going to double check. The Drizzle's pretty good for a like a non sequitur versus an actual question. So I would have allowed both, but don't abuse that, people. The Drizzle says there's a petition going around to change the FCC song, which I'll say I did not know about this. Hear me out. He says "Circle of Life" by Elton John from the movie Lion King. He said it's in the title. Plus, it's like a backhand to the other team if they lose. Thoughts? The problem is...
This is the Mr. Brightside, changing Mr. Brightside, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem is everybody has a better idea for Mr. Brightside than Mr. Brightside, which is why we have Mr. Brightside. That's it. Literally everybody has to pick one song. Everybody. I mean, literally everybody has to pick one song and the same song, and you might have a chance. That's it.
Yeah. I think it's too late to change Mr. Brightside, and that bothers me. But at this point, it just is what it is at this point.
I think the only chance we have of Mr. Brightside leaving is a proper era change. Like,
no, the only way we have a chance of it changing is if we find out at some point that the players all listen to some song in the locker room after like wins,
like what their
and they go on a
celebration
winning
is.
streak.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's got to be something that has to be, which is why it's going to be hard. It has to be an American pop banger. It's got to turn into something like when you know, they do this in hockey a lot. Like the St. Louis Blues went on a run to win the Stanley Cup, and the song was Gloria, and that all of a sudden became like the anthem for their Stanley Cup run. And I think they still play it after wins.
The Nationals did Baby Shark, I want to say, one year. They probably still hung on to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, it's got to be something like that where we find out afterwards that something becomes lucky.
Yes.
And then you ride with that. But absent that happening, I don't ever see there being enough agreement in the room to get rid of Mr. Brightside, as much as it would bring me joy if we did.
It's not quite to the same level, but it does remind me kind of how they thought about changing the name of like the Bailey.
Right.
Like it's the Bailey. Like I know the Bailey came from a thing, and if you think about like the origin, does it have a lot to do with Cincinnati or anything? No, but the name just means the Bailey now.
Right.
Like the Bailey is just that part of the stadium. Although sometimes I wish it was, you know, based on results, I wish it was more like a Mott than a Bailey.
It's also become the name of the fan base generally.
Right.
So like if there's a lot of people at the Atlanta game, it would be, oh, there's the traveling Bailey. Yeah.
Bailey, right. The Bailey in full voice where, And like, it's interesting that you watch these other games. There's not a lot of other supporter sections that have like a name like that. Like you would hear it at some point with the awful commentary that tends to repeat itself over and over again. Like there's not a name for a lot of these places that have become synonymous with the fan bases.
What is there? There's the 5212 or the 3252.
3252 is LAFC.
Just the number of seats, by the way, in the section. That's where that number comes from.
Does Minnesota call theirs the Wonderwall, or is that just the song they use?
That's just the song they sing. They have a great song they sing, and it annoys me how much better it is than Mr. Brightside.
They got that from like NASL years.
I think they call it the Wonderwall, and it's actually the origin of the song is exactly what Chief is saying. It was an assistant coach would sing it to the players after a win, and once the fan base picked up on that,
now, I'm out on this now. But there was a coach just singing an a cappella version of Oasis.
It might have been like an inside joke. Because I think he was like a goalkeeper's coach and he was singing it to the goalkeeper or something. It was like a silly thing. Yeah. And the players picked up on it. Because I think there's a tragic part of the story where like somebody got sick or something. So yeah. I could be wrong, but yeah.
Are there others, or are they just like Timber's Army or like
you've got
Sounders Army?
Do they call it the Cauldron in KC or Blue Hell?
They do. Yeah, they call it the Cauldron, I think, still from the Wizards era.
Okay.
Chicago used to have Section 8, but that's literally just Section 8 of the stadium. And it's also the name of an SG. I don't know if they have a proper name.
Well, they kind of got, like, all their fans got declared Section 8.
They also got banned, I think, right? Like
Sector Latino got banned, and then Section 8 like abandoned they've really messed up their supporters culture there. But I
was about to say Section 8 is probably like a fitting description of how Chicago has performed as a team for the last couple of years.
It's been a rough time. That's a good question, though. I wonder if there is a name of the section, and that is a good point. You do need to differentiate the supporters groups from the section. So like, I think in Nashville, they probably call themselves the Backline, but that's also like the collective name of the fan. That's the SG, basically.
Austin's got one, right?
It's just going to be probably like...
Well, it's Los Verde, but they don't like call the section Los Verde, I don't think.
I don't know. I guess I gotta figure this out.
But you just listen to this on the broadcast. They don't name drop these sections the same way they do the Bailey. Like the Bailey always gets at least like one shout out on this. I think the solution to the Mr. Brightside problem, as I will term it, is we get the goalkeeper's room together and let them pick a song, and let the collective wisdom between Evan, Roman, Alec, and
Paul Walters,
let them decide what the song should be, because it sounds like it's an eclectic group in terms of music tastes, And I think that there wouldn't be one person that wins out. Like, we know Roman is into hardcore mumble rap. I don't know that he would suggest some hardcore mumble rap song to be the theme song. But I think that between the four of them, I think we could come up with a pretty good replacement for Mr. Brightside.
Damn. We'll end up with like God's Plan from Drake, and that'll be it. And everybody will be more mad.
Be careful what you wish for.
T. Higgins just tweeted a handshake.
Oh my God.
We have a deal.
He's being traded.
That is a truly Cincinnati sports reaction right there. Oh, Jamar Chase just tweeted one too.
Oh God, they're both quitting.
No, it's breaking. Bengals wide receiver. This is breaking news that you will already know when you listen to this podcast.
Love this. Breaking news.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins exclusively tell me they've agreed to contract extensions. Jamar gets 4 years, $161 million guaranteed. T, 4 years, $115 million guaranteed. Jamar is the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. T, the highest paid wide receiver 2 in NFL history.
We did it.
And that's from a Fox Sports NFL insider, Jordan Schultz. So breaking news.
We did it.
That you are hearing first reported by the postcast.
Oh, man. Well,
what are your St. Patrick's Day plans there, guys? What are we doing? What are we doing tomorrow?
Going to work. I'm not a.
It hits a little different on a Monday.
Right. I'm not really a St. Patrick's Day guy as it is. And I don't know. I feel like if I was going to do something, it would have been today on Sunday, and I did nothing.
Did not. Oh, how dare you?
I don't know. Chief, do you have plans? You seem excited about this.
I'm going to get a Guinness somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Gotta. Would be wrong to not. Is that it for us?
I think that's a podcast. Yeah.
Cool. Well, brighter days ahead, I suppose.
We'll get there.
Not bright side days, brighter days ahead. We have time to gel. So let's get gelling. And I'm gelling like Magellan. Gelling like Magellan.
We got to bring back that Dr. Scholl's hat. I need gifts of that on nonstop all this week.
Gelling like a felon and fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy PostCast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to the show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.